And then the last thing was to get out there and tell the world about what our value proposition was and is. You know, why when you invest, whether it's your time as a big, whether it's your talent as being involved in one of the things that we do, or whether it's your treasure and writing the check to help support the work and grow the capacity of what we're trying to do, you know, is to get out there and tell a friend. And the more people that know about it, the more people that can embrace and say, hey, look, here is something bigger than me. Here is a movement, and you'll hear us use terms like that. Instead of staying down here, let's take the conversation up here higher. Let's talk to people about making a social investment as opposed to a charitable donation, which I consider to be more of a transactional exercise, as opposed to the transformation that we're trying to create and that we are creating in our communities. Now, what you may not know about Big Brothers Big Sisters is that, you know, we are a key component of any serious strategy to enhance education or public safety. We talked a little bit about that, you know, just casually during lunch. But I honestly and strongly believe that if we aren't also taking off of the sideline key assets in our community to deploy, in addition to some of the other things, the more politically expedient things that you hear people talk about, then, you know, we're never long-term going to make any real progress. It'll be like Sisyphus, you know, that old Greek mythological tale about the guy who was basically just destined to keep pushing this rock up the hill, and it kept coming back down on him. You know, if you don't engage organizations like Big Brothers Big Sisters and others that are particularly focused on youth and developing that next generation, then this city, this community, this country is going to be like Sisyphus pushing that thing up the hill. Unfortunately, too many of our elected officials are only concerned with pushing it up the hill to their point and then, you know, letting it fall on somebody else. And what we're trying to do is get that rock up and over the hill and head it down. We want to be part of the solutions to our problems and not just kicking that can down the street. The other thing that you may not know is that we're also creating jobs. People don't think about Big Brothers Big Sisters and others in our sector as driving helping to drive the economic engine in our country. You know, one of my theories is, and just recently talked about it in a CEO report and an article that we put out and going to expand on a bit in my book, is the fact that this is an underutilized asset. Again, using us as an example. When I started, we had less than 20 people working for us. We've got 49 working for us right now. And when you begin to multiply that just across the Big Brothers Big Sisters network of 375, when you start bringing in some of the other so-called nonprofits around this country, you know, we're creating jobs that if, for instance, you know, I mentioned to you about your match support person, they're required to call you every month to talk about the progress of your match. You're not going to be getting a phone call from anybody from Mumbai or Russia. You know, they're going to be right here in your town, in your city. So, and the cool thing about it is that when you create a job in our sector, it's not just helping that individual family, but when those individuals who typically are very passionate about what they do begin to go about the business of their work, there's an impact, there's a domino effect, if you will, that their work causes. And that it affects 10, 100, 1,000 other lives. So it's one of those jobs that also pays it forward. So wouldn't it be nice if we looked at it, if we talked to some of our elected officials, both locally, statewide, and federal-wide, with all of this talk about creating jobs, in looking at helping organizations like ours grow capacity to serve more kids, which is going to benefit the community. It's going to create meaningful jobs for American citizens that are going to stay here, that will never be outsourced, and use that to help drive some of this whole economic recovery. And particularly in the current environment, you know, in a state like Tennessee, that's very driven now by the Republican Party, and we now have Republicans in control of the House, and the mantra has always been, let's keep government smaller. One of the best ways to do that is to build capacity in the sector that can do the work that government is sometimes forced to do, and they can't do as well as we do. They can't do it as efficiently as we can. So, you're helping to keep government small. You're helping to create jobs that impact people going forward. So that's one of the things that you might not know about what we're doing. And, you've heard me use the term investment, and that's one of the other things that we talk about. What is the return on investment when you get involved with somebody like Big Brothers Big Sisters? Better schools, safer streets, better use of public funds.